All right, the next thing we're doing is Jim's working on all the body panels, getting all the body ready for paint. We got the doors off. I am working on fitting the dash. I have the rough cuts in there, and then I've trimmed up to where I'm gonna go. I am going to weld plates, basically like a little shelf piece in this corner, and on the other side, this gap needs to be opened up real wide for this because of the angle of the bars coming in. It's kind of hard to truly explain, but to get the dash on, since the bars go that way, you have to open it up real wide here to get it to fit over the bar and in. Same with the other one, because the bars start in so much further and end up in different places. You really have to kind of come in. You see on this side how far in this bar comes in. It's all the way up into the gauge cluster, really. I mean, I can almost put a fist between the A-pillar and the bar. So I figured it'd just be best. I'll just cut basically a nice corner, like a rectangle out of here on both sides. Once I get it fit as close, like it's got real nice fit up on that. But I'll put a piece of steel, probably like some 18 gauge steel, just kind of close that off, and then when this slides on, it'll act as a backrest. Like I said, I'll cut this side's pretty clean right now, but I will get it nice and symmetrical so it looks like it's not just a hogged out hole or something like that. It'll look intentional when it's finished. Same on the other side. Like I said, I've got it opened up real wide, but I'm going to just trim that out so it's like a symmetrical rectangle opening, and I'll put our backer plates on there, and yeah, so it'll be a nice cleaner install because just how far away these bars are from the A-pillar. Like I said, taking it on and off, the gap has to be so fat in there for it to actually finagle in the bars and then squeeze into place. So doesn't leave you with the best fit at the end, and I mean, I could get it a lot tighter fit if it was just going to go in and stay in, but this being a race car, everything's going to come in and out real quick. Another thing that I'm going to do on this car is it has a race pack dash, and I see a lot of people, you know, they mount this stuff on the outside, but then when they go to take the dash, they got to take this off, move all this stuff out of the way. So I'm going to actually mount this to the column behind the dash and then cut the window out for it, so that way when the dash comes off, there's nothing attached to it. It's just the dashboard, and then everything is fixed in place behind the dash. That's just going to make maintenance a lot easier, and then, you know, nobody wants to deal with, you know, having wires or harnesses attached to anything, like having to unplug stuff. Just pop it out and pop it in. Everything else fixed to the firewall or something behind there. So all the electronics are down on the floor. It's a nitrous car, carbureted, so I mean, there's not a lot of stuff, just, you know, relays, a grid for ignition, and some other stuff. There's actually nothing behind there except for the wiring that goes up to the steering wheel for the trans brake, and I do believe I think that's all. Yep, and the race pack harness, so not much behind there anyway. All right, just for an example, you can see this is on Randy's car. We're probably going to redo his dash a little bit. It's a kind of a cool setup how he has his done. These are just like bungee cords, and you just unclip the bungee and then the dash comes out. But what we're going to do is maybe a little cleaner than this on the trimming, but we're going to make a little panel that's similar to this. It's going to fit around the bars. See, now, like, his bars almost go all the way out to the A-pillar, so trimming the other dash to fit this would have been a lot easier to get it on and off, but because the bars are like way out here, I'd have to cut all this out just to slide it up on. So you can see the difference, you know, when you have a nice fitting cage that's tight to the A-pillars, how easy that is to then fit a dash or anything else. So fitment is a very big thing, and, you know, it's a pain in the ass to get it like that and then get in there and weld it. But when you're doing everything else on the car, getting in and out of the car, mounting stuff for the car, you just have so much more space. You don't even think about, you know, if this bar is in like another 2 inches, that's, you know, 2 inches of foot room that you don't have. You know, and then you have all this wasted space in between because you got flat door panels. Now you have, you know, this much space where you could have room for yourself. It's just now a negative space in the door. So, you know, better that you can get a cage to fit, and everything else to the outside, the more clearance you have on the inside to get stuff. All right, so a little bit of time and attention later, I figured out how I'm going to make my plates that go behind there. Got them cut out and templated. There's going to be a split in them so I can kind of widen it out and slide it around and then close it up, and then I'll stitch weld it shut and then to the bar, and then I'll form it to the inside of the dash here. Just kind of show where my alignment marks are, so that way I know where the plate is, where I can trim out on the dash to get a nice clean opening. So that's where our plate goes, runs up to the windshield. Driver's side one was a little more difficult because of the cutout for the gauge cluster here. So this one basically is going to come up. This piece is going to be behind here. It's going to kind of hug this tube and then bend up 90, and then this one goes across in the back. So you won't be able to see anything, you know, obviously once this is tucked up in there, you won't be able to see this little hole right there. So now I know where about my pattern should be on the dash, so that way when I go to, like I said, I'll trim these holes just to be a little cleaner to the outside, maybe a more consistent edge. Or maybe I'll just leave as much overlap as I can, so that way if the dash moves around a little bit. I'm going to put Zeus tabs, 2 of them on either side, and then I might build a little hoop off the dash just to maybe hold it up in the middle. Maybe just put one little quarter turn in the middle there just to hold it in the center so it's not floppy or shimmying up and down. So pretty good progress. We will get those made and put on the car tomorrow, and then once the front end and all that stuff can go back on, I'll finish the bull horns. There's nothing else really to do. I've got to clean up some metal on the struts for the rear wing. Yeah, so coming along. I think we've got about one more day worth of work to have this all done up. Okay, now I've taken the templates and transferred them onto some aluminum, and I cut them to bend them to fit, and now they're up and around the dash. Now I'm going to basically figure out where I'm going to trim away. Like I said, this is the outline of where the actual piece is behind there, so I'll follow this radius and then match this over here and then come up pretty close to that. I don't want to take away any more than I really have to at this point, so I'll just make sure there's a nice even space around this, you know, make it look good. And then on the other side, I got that one in there, so looks pretty good. There's not really much I can do about this. I don't want this to be hanging up on that bent up lip, so it's kind of just tucked in a little further, so there's a little bit of gap in there, but I'm afraid it's just going to get hung up trying to take it on and off and just bend the shit out of it. So I'll just keep it up out of the way, and but it looks pretty good. You know, when this is all done on there, it's going to look real good. So let's see. The next thing we're going to do is, these are aluminum sheets, so what I'm going to do is basically just weld like a little flange off of there that I can maybe put like 2 rivets on just to kind of hold it in place. There's not really too many options here. I don't want to make this out of steel because it's going to be real hard to get, because I had to like peel it open, because if you look, it's actually all the way around, and in steel, trying to peel that open, it's going to deform real bad and it's hard to get back once I get it on there, and the aluminum works a lot nicer. So I'll just have something I can weld the back to. If it didn't have a windshield, it'd be a different story, but yeah, so I'll weld the steel piece to the cage, and then I'll just put maybe like 2 rivets just to hold it in place. Like, this is more so like a closeout trim panel. It's not structural, it's not holding anything on. That's just to trim out the dash. Next thing I'm going to do after that is then work on just a small, probably 3/8 tube frame, the same stuff I make the side pieces out of. Just come over here, maybe like 2 quarter turns on either side, and cover that. So let's get on the next part. Okay, so we've got our trim pieces in. I welded the metal tab on the back side. I drilled with some 2 rivets that'll hold the aluminum piece in place. I went ahead and I figured it was going to be easiest to do it, and it really was. I had some pre-made Zeus tabs. I'll pop them off so you can see them, but they were just perfect enough that they could weld into the A-pillar right there, and I didn't have to make any bracketry. I just figured out about where it was going to touch, drilled a hole, fastened the plate to it, pushed the dash up until it touched in the back there and just put some tacks and pulled it away. I welded it from the back side. So that's held in pretty well. So now I need to cut out the hole for the steering column. And what I did was I ran a plumb bob string line from right in front where it touches the dash there. And I just made little tape flags for my reference points. So the top of the dash, this right here is going to be the top of the round opening for the steering column. And then this is the bottom. And what I'll do is I'll pull the dash out, I'll put the column up, and I'll see where that lands on my string, and now I know where exactly I need to cut out on the dash for that to fit around. Okay, now with the dash out, you can kind of see how my reference marks are going to help me out. So you can see roughly, this is where the bottom of the other one was, and this is where the top was. So looking at the actual dash, it was marking off these two areas. Now you can see the column barely comes up right here. So I'm probably just gonna cut like a little half moon right here and then split it down, maybe not all the way, but a pretty decent slot. So that way you can get it over the steering column because the shifter's in the way and there's just a lot of stuff to try to make it around there. It'd be really nice if this had one of the extensions. So the steering column was actually way back here. So you're gonna have to try to figure out to get it over that. But I think we've got a pretty good idea of where we can cut this. All right, column off, dash back in. See where our marks where our column was. That is the angle, basically following that tape line and that tape line. That's where the column will come through, basically at that. So I know I'll probably come up maybe like a 1/4 inch, and then we'll cut it down since it comes through here. I'll probably end up cutting it maybe halfway through here because of the angle. If you look at this through the plane, it's the actual column. It's going to come through right here, so it's going to have to slot over. Even though this has a shape here, because it comes through, I'll have to cut this out anyway, even though it doesn't touch. So, all right, so I think we're pretty much wrapped up with this dash here. I might go to paint. We might wrap it with some tweed. We're just going to talk to the customer and see how we're going to do the finish work. But I've got the dash cut for the race pack. I wish the angle on the column matched the dash better, but the way that it's angled back, it doesn't get to sit flush flat in there. I'm pretty sure this is Tim McCamus or a CJ Race Cars titanium column mount. It's a nice piece. I mean, I could probably make something, but this will work pretty good once it's in there. And then we just have the 2 quarter turns. This is actually really solid once it was in there and mounted. So I don't really think it needs any more than that. So we'll just let it rock with that.